Welcome to the Spiritual Underground Podcast. This is Dan once again coming to you from the wood shop at the DTM Enterprises. That's our little makeshift studio for the time being. It seems to work pretty good for this. A little dusty, and I've been making some sawdust prior to our guest today arriving, so I'll go ahead and get on that. Announcing Erikk is with us today. He's come in to tell his story. Known Erikk probably a year and a half or so, someplace in that neighborhood. Like once again, these guys that have come into this home group we have are just like fantastic guys. I can't imagine having a support group around me that is that's any better. I said at the end of the last episode, I said, if you don't think your home group's the best one in the world, then get to looking, And like I said, my home group is the best in the world. I have the best sponsor in the universe, and if you don't think yours is, get to looking for yours because he's out there someplace. And in this support group, I can say the same thing. Got this bunch of men around us, and I just know that long as I continue to stay connected with them, there's just no way that I can fall. It's not possible. As long as I keep my wires connected with everybody else's. I'm in that safe and protected zone that the book promises me. Right. So Erikk's here today. What have you been up to today, yesterday? What's going on just lately? Just get a little chatting going.
In life in general?
We'll get to your story in just a minute.
Today was my usual Thursday. I go to aftercare, which is one of my favorite meetings. It's not technically, I guess, a meeting, but it helps. It's helped with my recovery since I started getting sober.
And it's aftercare at the place you went to treatment.
Right. So I did a rather short treatment in comparison to some people. I did 5 days in inpatient treatment.
Yeah, detox.
Detox, yes. To get a control to the point where they felt medically happy with me leaving. And then I agreed to do outpatient treatment. And going into that, I had no idea what I was agreeing to, what I was signing up for. I make the joke that it's not really a joke because it's where my mindset was when I started was, was going into recovery because I knew that there was a problem, but I thought recovery was to teach me how to, drink like a gentleman or, controlled chaos type of thing.
It's kind of saying I don't think anybody's actually prepared for abstinence,
Yeah.
You mean I got to quit entirely?
Yes.
And everything?
Everything, yes.
Hold on a minute.
Well, and kind of the funny thing about that is that even though I told myself, I'm doing this and I'm doing this, stuff was leaking through. I have Chris as my counselor. So, you're a sponsor, so that kind of gives you a fair amount of the cheat codes for staying sober at the beginning.
That's a good way to put it.
I
like that.
That's why I go to that aftercare meeting. It's a blend of people who are raw recovery, man. Like, sober for a couple days.
Right.
And, it's mixed with people who have come through the system, and it's mixed with people who have gotten some good sobriety under their belt, and, it kind of lets that blend, so you don't forget about what flight of stairs you've been falling down for years and years and years.
Yeah, you don't even get that kind of, we said earlier when we were talking beforehand, that keeping it green is the words I heard people say about our recovery. And you don't really get to keep it that green in AA meetings even, because there's just not too many raw people just walking in the door at a meeting. They've usually been to a treatment place or something like that. Right. So they at least got a little bit of something underneath them. But in a treatment joint, you're getting people who can be really, really raw and on a regular feed of them too.
Well, and it's a very different dynamic when you share at an aftercare with people who are, don't even have a week under their belt, because the stuff that I might talk about in an ongoing AA meeting with people who've been through the book or, people are part of my support system, stuff like that, they understand a little bit more of the lingo or, the stuff that I've been through, whereas, people in aftercare Dude, they're just trying to get the shakes to stop, man.
Yeah.
They're all they hear is that high pitched buzz in the back of their head, and it's like when the hell are they going to shut the fuck up so I can get out of here?
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
it sounds like Charlie. I always say all that lingo sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher talking, you know, or parents or whichever one. The whack, 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 you know, and you're like, but there was little drips and drops got leaked in as you sit around and listen and start picking it up. If you'll do that whole thing, will keep coming back.
Well, that's kind of where my nickname came from, too. Is my early sobriety coming through, because I went aftercare, and then I had to do the meetings, right? So
had to go to those meetings.
I had to go to 3 meetings a week, you know, and so I ended up, because of my sponsor and the people that I kind of started surrounding myself with in early recovery, they took me to, you know, a meditation meeting with a lot of old sobriety in there. Took me to the spiritual underground. Good, healthy sobriety in there, you know. So I was kind of not weaned on this stagnant, dead sobriety that I've found in other meetings. Not saying that, you know, if you find a good meeting, it's great, but to me, I need that, man. I think we talk about it quite a bit, man. I didn't have any limits on my depravity, so I'm not going to put any limits on my sobriety either.
Amen.
You know, and that's what I needed, man. I needed those rich meetings with people who were challenging themselves, challenging each other. That was one of the things that that was like the first moment where I said, okay, I can do this sobriety shit that everybody's talking about that I think's bullshit at the beginning, you know. How can you be happy, like, without a drink in your hand? How can you be happy without pills in your hand, you know? How can I live that life? It's boring as hell, right?
Yeah.
So,
had a friend or sponsee actually say he had run into somebody the other day, and one of the questions when he told them, you know, first off, they were just like completely blasted, blown away that this guy was sober, because that was probably, in this person's eyes, impossible. And apparently they were having some issues with their stuff too. And you know how that works. And he said he was really landed this question when she asked it, really landed on him. She looked at him and she goes, "What do you do?" And he's like, "Man, you know," he said, "How do I answer that question?" You know, I think there's a real simple answer to that question. Probably, what do you do? I live today. I actually live a life worth living today. I'm not just surviving the wave anymore. I'm living a life that, and you know, that's, you know, part of me doing this, part of me continuing to do things that challenge myself is, you know, I've got to grow. I've got to continue to move, because shit, I can be miserable, be drunk, you know? Yep, and I know I'm going to stagnate if I don't continue. That book says over and over again, and everything about it has continue to do this, continue to enlarge your spiritual life, continue to grow in understanding and effectiveness. You know, it's continue. You know, I need to continue to add on to my recovery. I think as Bob Earl says, continue to improve the quality of my life in recovery.
Unlimited possibilities.
Yeah.
Unlimited potential. And I mean, that's what I'd done for so long, is limit my potential with numbness or apathy or whatever it was. You know, I one of the things I've known about, because I knew way before I came into recovery that I was an alcoholic, that I had an issue, that I felt different, man. Just life in general, I felt like that windshield wiper that's left on a dry window that just squeaks, man. I never felt like I was in my groove, that life was smooth for me.
I love the metaphors, man. My mind works really well with that one. I like that one too.
But I mean, that's how it was for a long time, is that I needed to have that drink, that lubrication of the woes of my world.
That's a really cool way to put it.
So, what I found since I've been in recovery is I was filling that emptiness that I had with numbness and apathy. You know, I felt like shit and I didn't want to feel it. And that was just a survival tool. And since I've been in this program and finding out that, oh, shit, you can give yourself a chance in life, man. You can dig your way out of that garbage, man. It really has just gotten better. I mean, I think I'm just crested over 19 months of sobriety.
Yeah, man. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Cool stuff.
I mean, after getting through the first hump of, you know, what the fuck am I going to do? How am I going to survive? You know, those kind of things. You know, am I going to be bored? Am I going to have the same friends? The answer is, I mean, even if I was still out in the madness, I can't answer those questions.
Yeah, right.
You know? But I'm giving myself a chance, you know, stay in the fight, right? Book I'm reading right now is by, you know, David Goggins' book.
Yeah, right.
Can't Hurt Me. And it's about, you know, his
I think
path.
that's a second, because I was at the bookstore last night and I was looking, and I think this is a brand new book, right?
Yeah.
The book that I saw, so it's called Can't Hurt Me?
Can't Hurt Me, Mastering Your Mind.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, because I picked up a book that was a Goggins book, but I'm almost positive it was not this newest one.
Well, I don't know.
Has it got him in a white suit in the front?
Yeah.
Yes, it is, huh?
Yeah.
Huh.
And then it's in the background, it's like the shadows picture
of his old
self. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Okay. Well, I guess it was the right book then. You know, if something was telling me it wasn't. But go ahead.
But no, I mean that's his big thing is, you know, he's all about mental toughness and owning your shit. You know, a lot of times we settle down into this, I was wronged, or, you know, this bullshit hand that, you know, life has handed us, or this and that. And his whole thing is like, I mean, you can whine and bitch and complain about it, but it's yours to own. Yeah, like, you got to get better or you don't.
Another one of the ones I like, and I heard it says, I am no longer on the bottom of the victim pile.
Yeah.
Because I climbed under that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I hear a lot of guys talk about, you know, I was living in my car, or, you know, family left me, this left me, that left me. You know, I'm a very high bottom drunk. Not that I didn't put family and friends through the fucking ringer. I mean, that's another story, I guess. But doesn't mean I haven't lost things. And I made my mistakes, but that is kind of the purpose of this recovery, is righting those wrongs.
Right. Yep.
You know, owning my shit, moving forward. You know, that was what I was going to say about David Goggins, man. Always in the fight. Got to stay in the fight.
Yeah. That dude definitely is.
Yeah. And, I mean, dude, I have nowhere near the amount of tenacity that guy's got. Like, running on broken legs and all sorts of crazy shit that he does talks about in that book. That's his life story. But, you know, that's what I do now, man. I read these books about motivational people, you know, people who survived. The quote that you gave me from Teddy Roosevelt, man, I fucking love that quote, man.
The one that contains the daring greatly thing?
Yeah, daring greatly. Oh, man, that shit gives me chills up my spine every time I read it.
Yeah.
Like,
I've thought about reading it on here before. I had, because I keep it handy. I actually picked up a Teddy Roosevelt book last night. Hell, let's read it. Picking those things up. Here it is. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. Theodore Roosevelt. That is one of the coolest. I got it from Brene Brown. She reads it in that book, and that's what the title of that book come from. So,
But I mean, if that doesn't give you cold chills, I mean, to me that's just like, it was, like a lot of things after you walk out of the madness, like you kind of start hearing your story when you start looking for it. You start seeing it replayed with, in the world around you. Find these like motivational things out of the blue. Things, before when I was in the madness, and there was coincidences, right?
Right.
It's a co-incident, right? It's an incident. You're just taking part in it. There's not a bunch of random bullshit in life. I don't feel like. I feel like it's. As weird as this is going to sound to people who are young in recovery, or I don't look at being an alcoholic as a detriment. I look at it as addressing the fact that I'm an alcoholic has given me, it's given me freedom. It's given me a support group where I can be real.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can pour out the bullshit that goes through my head on a regular basis.
Right.
And, my support group helps me survive that. I mean, it hasn't been all roses and gold bricks since I got sober. It's been more good days than bad ones, but I've had a fair set of some challenges since.
Yeah. And that's really where the meat and potatoes is in this thing. Is like, it is time and time again. When everything is going well, it's pretty easy to stay okay.
Yeah.
When life's certain trials and low spots, when them bumps in the road, that's where I need something to hold on to, man. I need a panic bar to grab a hold of so that I can ride out that bump, and that's what this support with this group of guys and this program has given me.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the support's there. I remember when I've got a certain situation that's going on right now.
Do you want to begin like what I like to do is like to give you your sobriety date, and you can kind of go from
Sure.
from wherever you feel like, and we'll get to that story, I think, as we do this.
Okay. My sobriety date is 6/12/17, the day after my birthday.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people come in after big events. You know.
Yeah. Mine's a New Year's Day.
New Year's Day. Yeah. I guess that's where I'll start. I'll start with coming in.
There you go.
So to come in, I'm gonna back up just a hair. September 13th, 2016. My father and my best friend passed away. I was holding his hand when he died. I had always, in my mind, I'd always known that he was going to pass away fairly young. He helped to ingrain that in me. He was very much a fatalist. But like I said, I mean, when I say he was my best friend, I mean, he literally my whole life was my best friend. But the day that he passed away was the day I signed the papers for closing of my first house. He never got to see. 2 months after that, I got married, which he never got to see. So fast forward to right before I came into recovery. His birthday is May 25th. It's about 2 weeks and change away from my birthday. So I had a little bit of a Irish wake, pity party, missing my dad. And then my birthday hits. Well, my birthday hits like a truck. I'm going for it, man. Going scotch, going vodka, whatever, man. And I wasn't one of these, I could drink wine. I can drink beer. I'm going hard liquor. It's going warm. I don't need ice. I don't need anything mixed with it. If I added a mixer to my alcohol, it was because I didn't want the people around me to think I was insane for being able to drink piss warm liquor in the middle of the day. So I went for it, man. And at that point, work had pretty much been fed up with me. There wasn't the discussion about, hey, we're going to fire you, but I'm sure it was on the agenda. So I ended up going into work. People say hungover. I didn't have hangovers. I had active fighting for your life detox symptoms.
Really?
All the time. If I didn't have a drink in me, oh, dude, it was bad.
Wow.
And so June 12th, 2017, I was in work. I was in the office. And the woman who sits next to me, in the pod next to me, she looked at me and she was like, dude, you need to get the fuck out of here. Like, she's like, you look like shit. Are you all right? Like, don't, like, go home and get a nap. Like, go to the hospital, like, fucking now. Like, something's wrong. I would type it on the computer, and, like, if I would hit a key, 5 of the letter would pop out. That's how bad I was shaking.
Yeah.
So, I made up some bullshit, went to my boss, I was like, I gotta go. She's like, okay. I go home, and that's pretty much when I made the decision. Like, dude, I can't keep actively killing myself on a daily basis. I called my wife and I called my mom. And I said, hey, this is what I'm doing. I didn't really give anyone a way to talk me out of it. I said, look, this is where I've pushed things. There is no gentle stepping down of the situation. Like, I need to go into detox. I need to get a fucking handle on this. And at that time, I was scared, man. I was fucking scared. I'd heard the horror stories about people stroking out, seizures, the whole nine, and unfortunately I read and go on WebMD and take myself down those fucking rabbit holes.
Yeah.
But I was like, look, I need to do this, and if I'm going to do it, I need to fucking do it where I can't just phone it in. It's got to be legitimately jarring to the life that I was living. My wife took me into the hospital, the Brook. I don't know if they'll care I said it, but
I don't think so.
I went into the Brook, and dude, I was shaking so bad I couldn't fill out the fucking paperwork, man.
Really?
My wife had to fill out the paperwork for me. I saw the look on her face when I was talking to the counselor, and they were going to decide whether or not I could be admitted. She's crying, man. I'd wedged her into a corner, man. Like, she's just sitting here watching this shit. Like, and she wanted me to be better. She wanted me to not be like that. But, it's just like we say in recovery, man, you can want to not have cancer. You can want to not be a diabetic, but it doesn't mean you don't need chemotherapy or insulin, man. You need the fucking treatment. So that's what I did, man. I went into treatment, and it's fucking, they take your shoelaces, take your belt, take this, take that.
I still have hoodies my hoodies that I have hanging in the closet don't have no strings in them.
Yeah. And I mean, I've never been arrested. Never been, dude, at this point in my life, I've never had a speeding ticket.
Whoa.
And so that institutional.
Yeah.
That was very eye-opening to me. I was that slick talker, man. I talked my way into fucking anything, man. And here I am signing myself up to go in. Right? But it wasn't me signing myself up to go in. It was my disease had already written that fucking check. And I knew that it was death or sobriety. Like, there wasn't a middle ground for me anymore. I'd pushed it too hard, too long, for there to be any middle ground. I've lost the lost the privilege of that in my life, and I'd known that. And so, as much as I want to say that in the back of my head, I wanted to learn how to drink like a gentleman or anything like that, I knew that wasn't a fucking option. I knew me. I wanted that. Wholeheartedly, I wanted that. I wanted to be able to use this crutch to exist in the world around me that I felt so empty in. And I was scared, man. Fuck, I can't survive a couple hours without a drink and shaking like the San Andreas, man. You can tell me I got to live the rest of my life without a drink? Yeah. So I was scared, man. And dude, this is the weirdest fucking story. While I'm in inpatient, locked away, there's a lady that was in there, schizophrenic. Dude, I mean, I can't even give you a good view of how this woman was. She was so insane. And I didn't really talk about myself much when I was in inpatient to the people that were around me. I mean, there was a couple people, it was just general shit, blah, 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 blah. And this lady, this batshit crazy lady, looks at me one morning. And I try to keep my eyes down, don't engage. Well, she looks at me and she says, "Hey." And I'm like, okay, I started a conversation with somebody else, try to do that. She finally is like screaming across the room at me, hey. Like, yeah. She looks at me dead in my eyes and says, "I was just talking to your father, and he's in heaven, and he wants you to know that he's proud of you."
Wow.
And fucking goes back to her crazy bullshit. Like, just walks off. And dude, that one fucked me up. Dude, that was like right to the spine. Because I mean, there's no reason that conversation should have happened.
Amazing.
So one of the many signs I had early on that I was moving in the right direction.
Right. Higher power attaboys, those nudges, that process of coming to believe we talked about the other night. Those kind of things is things that lead you to that, like you said, and you're walking the path you're supposed to be walking.
That was like, I think, my first moment of willingness. That because I'd always had, like, my version of the higher power is what it's always been. I'm repairing that relationship.
Yeah.
But I never agreed with anyone who told me this is how you pray or this is what your God should be. That never worked for me, and I never fucking believed that. If anything, the thing that I had a problem with when it came to the higher power thing is how could I be forgiven for the shit that I'd done, the years that I'd wasted, and that was the first, just that moment of sheer insanity, and only out of that person's mouth would it have actually carried weight. The words coming from her mouth that I would have never given credence to in any other situation. For some reason, that one kicked me in the ass to give me enough of a willingness to be like, okay, if you're sane and you tell me that, I'm like, okay, thanks. But you're batshit crazy and have no reason to speak to me, and you say that to me, like that. I mean, that was like my jump start into, okay, it's time to start living a new way. There's shit out there you don't understand, and
you hadn't said anything to people in the treatment joint about this happening, or
and that was, I mean, like I was saying, that was the slippery slope that. It was one of, because I don't feel like I really grieved or mourned the right way when he passed away. So his birthday came around, and that's when I was like, I'm going for it. I think it's very disrespectful to him now, saying that, I used, that was my excuse. Dude, I didn't need a fucking excuse.
Right,
Day ended in Y, that was my excuse. Good day, bad day.
Right.
Happiness, celebration, depression, sadness, fuck it. It may have been more amped up on certain days, but, I was an equal opportunity employer for my sickness.
Yeah.
And a reason
I
to
like
do
to
it.
have an excuse.
Yeah.
That I could kind of tell myself, but I was going to do it one way or the other.
Yeah.
It really didn't matter if I had it or not.
Well, to me, it was justification.
Right.
I wanted, I hand over fist, man. I wanted bad shit to happen to me. Because, I know how fucked up that sounds, but definitely at the end, man, I wanted that bad shit to happen to me because then I could justify it to you. The third party, to my wife, to my family, to my mother, This is my justification for why I'm a fuck up. Come feel sorry for me. Come get on the parade of the pity party for Erikk. Right?
Yep. Martyrdom.
Yeah, and that justification was, I felt like if they were, they could understand how this situation was bad in my mind, then they wouldn't give me shit and let me stick to my, disease that I was feeding.
Right. Keep on doing what you've been doing and have a reason. That came old, I guess it's that. If you knew, if you were dealing with what I'm dealing with, you'd drink too.
Yeah. And I've actually, I've noticed that, especially like in, non-honest interactions I've had, probably the whole time, but I've noticed it much more since coming out of the madness, is a lot of interactions that you have with people who especially aren't very genuine, generally just tend to be asking for forgiveness, asking for permission, gratification,
Yeah.
those kind of interact, like, people don't tell you a story. They're trying to get you on their side a lot of times.
Like selling you something.
Selling me something. This is why work sucks, and this is who's wronged me.
Yeah.
Instead of, I fucked up too. Not much ownership, and stuff like that. But I go and so back into the, I was into the brook, and while I was in the brook, I kind of, I had very limited contact with my wife, phone calls at night, and she could come once a week, twice a week.
To visit?
To visit, yeah. And that was rough, man. Just seeing her having to live life on the outside while I'm on the inside. And self-inflicted inside. I wasn't ordered in by the police and I always felt like in her mind it was, did you really have to go in?
Like abandonment?
Yeah, abandonment. Like you just want to run and hide. And knowing my personality at the time, I can see why she would say it, I'd abandoned her emotionally a lot of times,
Yeah, I'm a runner. Yeah. That's my number one conflict avoidance tool is to run. Mm-hmm. Shut down.
Well, I read somewhere, if for a man who hates himself, to really see the extent in which he hates himself, see how he treats the people he loves. Because that's where it plays out. There's no more damage I can do to me. Like that it's a cask at that point. Yeah. So I got to start injuring those people who love me because they still love me. Yeah. There's still a heart there. I have no heart for me. So this person loves me. I got to injure them.
Wow.
And I God love her. God love my whole family, man, because they put up with some shit. I'm when I said I was a high bottom drunk, I was a high bottom drunk because of everyone else's effort, not because of my own. Just enough to squeak by. Everybody else kept me floating above the fucking swamp, man.
Yeah, I think that's a relatively typical thing for us, is that these other people enable us, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
And we'd have slapped the bottom maybe sometime earlier had we not been propped up.
I definitely, there's at least 3 times in my drinking career that there's no reason I should have survived. You know, I literally slapped the bottom. When I was 20, I had 19 shots of vodka in me and fell down a flight of stairs, smashed my head open on a concrete landing. Yeah. Lived through that. Went to the doctor the day after that. No, 48 hours after I did that. Then I decided to go to the doctor. Doctor's like, takes CAT scan, takes x-rays, does the whole 9 yards. And he's like, I don't see any cracks or breaks. He's like, it's a good thing you weren't drinking, and it's a good thing you didn't fall asleep because it would have killed you. I was like, yeah, roger that. I'm out. And they couldn't even stitch me up. It'd been so long since the situation had happened. But, I mean, that's just one. I mean, there's plenty of stories I don't remember that I lived through. But, yeah,
But when I say that bottom, I know I kept on bouncing off the bottom, and like what I like to say is I kept on finding, every time I hit a bottom, I found that there was a trap door in it.
Yeah.
That I could escape somehow or another. And at some point, you finally end up, and there's no real, that's the common dilemma around recovery is how do you deliver somebody that bottom, which sticks, whatever it is, because for one guy, it can be losing a girlfriend. For another guy, he has to go kill his buddy, in a car wreck. We can try to figure out what sends you to go and be receptive for the help.
Well, the science behind it is you've got to override the amygdala portion of the brain. Is the fear center is usually what helps it stick for. You have to get so scared that the part of your brain that's fight or flight says, I don't give a shit about dopamine, which is one of the strongest neurotransmitters in your body, in your brain. It says, I don't give a shit about this anymore. We have to survive.
Interesting.
And for me, I'd kind of burned out a lot of my survival instinct. I needed some clarity. That's what I needed. I knew I didn't want to feel that way. I knew I didn't want to live that way. Even when I was hammered, I knew I was miserable. I knew I was miserable hiding it, lying, hurting, But an initial scare, I'd proven that shit wouldn't work. And dude, I needed fucking proof. And that crazy lady in the brook telling me my dad was looking down on me from heaven for no fucking reason. That was my first. Pay attention. Start paying attention, dude. You're gonna do this. Pay attention.
Yeah.
And I did. I started paying attention, and I was a lot of bullshit and posturing at the beginning. Fake it till you make it. Learning how to get my feet on, under me. But the longer I just kept coming around. I kept doing the thing. Kept taking suggestions. And that's, I get a week under my belt, get 30 days, get 60, get 90. And I attribute that to, like I said, my family and my friends, had carried me through my alcoholism. My support group carried me through the beginning of my recovery. They were there for me if I needed something. I called. they understood, you know. And they were the first people to kind of tell me it's okay to say this sucks.
Yeah.
It does suck at the beginning. You've done a lot of damage. It's time to rewire some shit. Just hang out, breathe. And then, like I was saying earlier, you know, my nickname, fucking Erikk, it comes from how much of a live wire I was in early recovery. Everything was fuck this, fuck that. You know, this person's wronged me, that person's done this. You know, this is some fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
And now I say fuck a lot too. But it's like it's a happy fuck. Like
with a big smile on your face rather than
smile.
A growl.
Yeah,
Scowl.
Yeah, I'm not trying to scare the townsfolk away from me anymore, you know. I'm like, this is fucking great. I'm fucking having a great time, you know. I get to do stuff like this.
Yeah.
Which I never would have fucking imagined.
Yeah, me neither, man. Not in my wildest dreams.
So, but you know, that is one thing that I learned in the, you know, from being in the spiritual underground, being around the support system I have, is not to put limits on your sobriety. Never say always, never say can't. I mean, the minute you start saying always, can't,
never,
it's the minute that you're going to start seeing some shit change in an opposite direction. So my limits, that's why I was saying, like, why I'm reading David Goggins' book, you know. He's a survivor in a different way, you know. And I used to read all these books, these fiction novels. Sci-fi was my thing. And I still do. I still read sci-fi. But, man, I've been just devouring true stories.
Yeah.
Survival stories. That military stuff is some of the stuff that I've been reading the hell out of. You know, I got a great respect for veterans, and my whining ass would bitch because I couldn't drink on a Tuesday morning at 6:30 a.m. without people bitching at me. You know, these guys been through real shit, and I'm like, oh, but my life, but oh, woe is me. You know, but you know, I've heard other people say, especially like in early recovery, because that is one of the things that's good about aftercare, or even, you know, spiritual underground, man. We've been attracting a lot of new faces.
Yeah, no doubt.
Maybe a little intense for some of the newcomers. Yep. Definitely not like a lot of meetings out there.
Nope.
But you know, you can tell, man, the newcomer who really wants this shit, they go into the spiritual underground and hear people talking honestly.
Yep, it caught my ear right off the bat.
Yeah. You know, don't fucking tell me you know, it's just another day. I'm fine. 27 years of sobriety. Like, great. I'm glad that, but, dude, tell me your challenges. You had to fight a fucking war to get to where you are. And if you're just miserable, then what the fuck is the point?
Yeah. Or this, I guess the fake I'm okay.
Yeah. I'm good.
We talk, or and I'm all about what's in that big book, but just to sit and parrot what the big book says in a meeting doesn't do. And now to me, you know, I will bring it out to emphasize my points and to show that that's the alignment that I work by in my life. But there's a lot more to talk about.
Well, dude, I mean, I even see it at the spiritual underground, you know. Dudes will come up to you at the beginning of the meeting, fellowship, smile on their face. How is everything? Oh, I'm good. And then burning desire. First hand goes up in the fucking air.
Yeah.
Shit's gone wrong, man. It's gone south on me hard. I mean, I'm glad that they share in the burning desire. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just, but it's that knee-jerk reaction. How are you? Oh, I'm fine.
Yep.
You know?
Plus, you don't want to launch your burning desire in the pre-meeting.
Yeah. You don't want to cast your pearls to me. Cast it to the meeting. But I needed dynamics and proof. and not proof that anybody else could point to, because honestly, I don't give a shit what anybody else says. I love other people's opinion, or praise or thought or this and that, but something that's meaningful to me, something that I can attribute to my higher power, I can't explain that shit to anybody else where it would be meaningful. I couldn't explain my higher power to someone and have it make sense, so I just don't even try.
Yeah, I don't think there's much
Yeah.
value there. One of the things I've always said that has impressed me about my sponsor is that he helped me find a higher power without telling me a damn thing about his.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah.
to hear 4 years later, I still, if somebody asked me, I couldn't really tell you.
You were telling me that, and I was like, that is, tap dancing on the edge without falling off either side.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that, I had already said that, I already had a concept of the higher power that was important to me. God knows he pulled me out of the fire so many fucking times. It's hard not to believe in that shit. But I don't think other people are supposed to understand that. I love that there are people in AA that go to church and have religion. That's great. For them, if it works, awesome. To me, my higher power could never be somebody who was like, pick a team. That immediate idea that in religion they break it up into different religions, and then everybody's saying kind of the same thing but a little bit different, a little twinge, but if you don't believe this or you don't believe that. So I think that was one of my issues. I mean, because I came into AA like, this is a cult.
Mm-hmm.
This is all bullshit. It's just, I didn't know what religion it was that was provocating this, but I knew it was. There had to be a religion that had a hand in this, right? And that the idea that I have a God of my own understanding, I think that gets misinterpreted. I don't fucking understand God. It's my God. That's what I understand. I'm not supposed.
Say that the other night. That hit me pretty good. Hit me pretty hard when you said that the other night in the meeting.
I mean, I'm not supposed to understand that. I'm just supposed to understand that he's there, And I get kind of fucked up about saying he.
Yeah.
He's weird to me. Because where I've evolved in it, it's very personal. It's not a he, she thing.
I do. I fall back, and again, I will thump that big book for a minute, because the one thing it tells me is to not get hung up on the words.
Yeah.
Because we don't really have a language that's sufficient, right? So
Right.
we just use the words we got.
Right.
I say God. I don't know that that's the right word. I say he. That's probably more of an upbringing thing that has been trained in me more than anything else.
Yeah.
I have some friends who actually, and I don't know what they do. I have some friends that will refer she regularly, you know, and that will kind of like, that'll set me back on my heels a little, and for whatever reason, it rocks me a little bit. It makes my ears perk up. I don't disagree whatsoever. It just catches me because it's just not the same flow,
Well,
I kind of like it. I'm tickled by it.
Yeah. There's so many little twinges, that people, especially if you start going to mixed meetings, like the meditation meeting I go to on Saturdays. They've gotten away from saying the Lord's Prayer. They do the Serenity Prayer. Chris, early in my sobriety, was talking about the Lord's Prayer. If you really go and break that prayer down, it's the most general. It's not asking. That's another thing. It's not asking for individual shit for me. It's more of like a dual, like, forgive those who trespassed against us.
It's a lot like the St. Francis one, where it says instead of comfort, or instead of be comforted, let me comfort. And
So I mean, I'm not telling anybody how to pray. I'm just saying how I do it. Like the Serenity Prayer, I say that differently than anybody else says it that I know of. Instead of saying, God grant me the serenity, I say, God grant us the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change. So it just adds another opportunity for me to kind of pray for the assistance of other people, because I'm not the only one who's sick.
Yeah, right.
I've
heard people say we're going to do the we version of the Serenity Prayer, I think.
Oh, yeah?
Have you never heard that?
No.
Yeah, I've heard people in meetings that say that, and, rather than the I version, the grant me. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's something to get me out of my head, man.
Yeah, sure, man.
That's one thing about, my meditation and stuff. What I kind of take into it is prayer is me talking. Meditation is me listening.
Right.
Yep. And I'm rarely in the driver's seat in meditation. I may want to be like, hey, let's go down this road and let's figure this out and let's work on this and let's do this. That shit deteriorates like sand going, right through my fingertips.
Yep.
And that's like the beauty of it to me, because when you get those like deep dives in meditation, and I had a lot of deep dives early in sobriety, kind of like fucking epiphanies, boom, 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 and then you get to the other side of that where might only come once every however many times.
Yeah.
And then it's like you kind of let down a little bit from that part of the meditation. But everything is time, man. I'm trying to take myself out of the agenda. This needs to be done. No, it needs to be done when it needs to be done. I've definitely been working on my patience in my current sobriety. I'm an alcoholic, man. I want everything right now.
Yeah.
I want it fucking beautiful. And if it's a shade different than what I thought of it in my head, my expectation wasn't met correctly.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. That's what I'm working on, man. Fucking the shame, anger, expectation. Those were my pathways to falling apart.
Yeah. Yeah, that word shame has been coming up, and as I look back at myself at times for whatever reason, just that, part of this thing we say, the spiritual awakening thing,
Mm-hmm.
To me, some of that is just like a eye-opening thing where I can see today things I couldn't see before. And my eyes are open, awake. So yeah, the shame thing has been hitting me of how I operated and the way I walked around basically. And basically, I walked around in a state of shame for years, and I wouldn't have known. It wasn't until lately that really like landed on me. The way that I had opportunities to travel, but I couldn't really. I hid.
Mm-hmm.
I want to like stay inside my perimeter here too. I don't want to go too far outside my perimeter here. And we're sitting in my house that I grew up in, so I literally didn't like to venture too far outside this perimeter because it wasn't safe.
Right.
And I was afraid somebody would see that shame, see me for who I was. And that's a big word, that shame word.
Yeah, it is, man. Weighs heavy. It's a good open door to years of my spiral. But that I did the steps to the best of my ability. And I'm leaps and bounds more healthy than I've ever been in my life. But I don't believe that works complete. To me, it's always seeking. There's more. I can smell more.
I smell more.
I smell more, right? But this is one thing that I'll say, man. I said, I'm not ashamed of being alcoholic. I'm I'm ashamed of some of the things that I did while in the madness. But, to me, my higher power's funny, The Alcoholics changed the world, The steps, the support group, the fellowship, the meeting, like all those things. You have dudes who are extremely intelligent. And women, sorry, I'm not trying to be...
For the record,
exclusive.
Our home group and our inner circle is a men's group,
is
so
a men's
that does
group,
tend to lean that direction for us.
But, you have all these people who are very intelligent, a little bit broken in some areas, but they get to this point in their life where if they really find recovery, they really find that juice, that spark to fix that problem. They do, man. They work so fucking hard from that point on to better themselves, and to better themselves by bettering others around them.
Yeah.
Be the change that you want to see in the world.
Right.
That's
candle doesn't lose its light by lighting other candles.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, all those weird, like, cliched, bumper stickers you see driving around on the fucking road, man. It
turns out they're true.
Yeah, it's fucked up, man. Instead of just a bunch of people giving each other the middle finger in traffic all the time over bumper stickers, maybe they should start reading them. And, dude, I'm so blessed. I always have been, but appreciating those blessings has been big for me. I've been with my wife 13 years.
Wow.
Been married for, like I was saying earlier, 2. Bit of my fault. Late to the gun on the engagement.
I can relate to that too. I had to be pretty much pushed into that. I didn't really volunteer.
Yeah.
I was too sick to volunteer for that.
Yeah. Well, she saw me when it was fun party Erikk.
Right.
To living in the corner, sad, dark Erikk. She's been through all that. But another God shot from me. Been with my wife 13 years. Never had a scare of pregnancy. I'm out of recovery. Let's do the math. 4 months. Boom. Pregnant. First baby. I mean, and literally, it wasn't a whole lot of trying. And dude, that kid's my miracle, man.
Yeah.
Every day I see him, it's just, it doesn't matter like how piss poor I want to feel like something happened in my day. It's got me triggered. Dude, I look at that kid and he just smiles at me. I'm like, fuck, man. It's awesome. And dude, I could have never written that.
Right.
My mind was, dude, it still does it today. The sickness inside my head today is, well, what if this happens? Would that give me, the right to drink?
I hear that a bit.
What?
That little thing of that similar kind of thing of like that looking for, not, I don't know if that's the right thing, but that little deal where we'll look for the excuse. What excuse is going to be big enough?
It's not an active or conscious thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't sit there and dwell on that shit.
I think that's like core disease kind of thing where that's part of this thing where we're not choosing this. That's in there, and there's nothing we can really do to like make that completely go away.
Well, it's weird. It's almost like in my fucking brain, it's almost like tumblers in a time lock. Well, if this happens, and this happens, and this happens, and this happens, does that magically unlock the vault of justification?
Yeah.
So that my disease can get out and run rampant again.
Right, yeah. And beyond my control.
Now, when Ashley was pregnant, oh shit, I shouldn't have said her name.
I don't think first names matter.
But when she was pregnant, she was very concerned about carrying the pregnancy all the way through, and then not, having any complications and this and that. And I just didn't, man. Like, I had my moments here and there where it was like, this is, like a shot of fear, but it wasn't that like overwhelming doom and gloom that I'd carried with me about like everything in my fucking life. I just knew. I was like, he's healthy, he's gonna be happy, like, he could duck this addiction bullet, like just all that stuff, man. And that's one thing is there's tons of addiction just coming from me into his genetic pan. That's not counting the history of the genetic pan. But now, let's say he does grow up and he's got the gene, man. He's got the flavor for that venom. I got tools now. If I can't change that fucking blood, man. I can't change that DNA.
Yep.
But I can prepare myself enough to help him.
Yep.
If it does come down to that.
I think I believe in some manifestation kind of stuff too, man. If I'm thinking that I can put that on them, I think we can put that on them.
Yeah.
In a way, I think I can also do the opposite. I think I can keep that off of them in a way too by not. I do believe at some level that we drive our thought lives drive our destinies. So it's at the very base level of it, like what I like to say, just an easy way to think about it. If I walk into an event, a party, or whatever with the feeling that this is going to suck, it usually does.
Yeah, I'm carrying that suck right into the party.
So then I can actually manifest that out into life too. If I think today, when I wake up in the morning, if I think my workday is going to suck, it will. Yeah. And if the flip side of that is when I get up, and one of the things I do is some of the stuff we're taught to do in this is to get up and ask this source energy, this higher power concept thing, to help us through our day and actually have some confidence and some belief that it will, and do things like meditate in the morning, which will set my tone for the day. And do the things that actually create my day before I start it, then I get to have a good day, and I get to have another one and another one and another one. And I've learned that I can I'm on the edge of wanting to call it magic, because what has happened to me in recovery has almost been that of a thing where I've been able to almost. Once I started getting my feet under me, work these steps, and got into a position that I could actually harness this power to my benefit, this power greater than myself, that I do believe wants the best for me, this thing that does set up a system, a universe that has no limits for me. I make my own limits. That's the only limit I really have. Then I get to walk through this world, and the world is my oyster kind of deal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely...
so the same thing. I think I can put that on my future generations in a way.
Yeah,
I can drive that destiny according to, and then there's never absolutes. That's the other thing. There's no absolutes. I can't prevent something. I don't want to get into making it think I got some kind of magic wand or some kind of magic power that I can wiggle my nose, and make something happen. But there is some validity to this, I believe. I watch it happen too many times in people's lives when we get this power positive thinking kind of thing going, that we can make things work out to our benefit. My friend says that she always is asking for what the highest and best, whatever that is. Not asking for something specific. Give me the highest and best. I'm open to that.
Right. No, I totally get that. I'm very interested in science, and there's a lot in quantum physics that, observation changes the entire experiment. You bringing that energy into an experiment will affect it. And if you look at your brain, it's a huge processing system that's run on energy.
Yeah.
And if energy is positive that you're running your system on, it's giving you positive avenues to look at and directions to aim at. Because it's not looking at defense. Like, playing on your heels is always a good way to get beat, right? But playing on your toes, you're moving forward, you're moving with advantage. And, I mean, that right there, observationally, that changes the way that we approach things. If you go into your day thinking it's going to suck, you're already on the defensive. You walk in the door, you're pissed off. The minute that somebody says something that, if this motherfucker says this to me, this happens, drawing those lines in the sand, man. Don't draw the lines in the sand because it'll give you a chance to get your ass beat.
Yeah, that's another metaphor thing. Is like walking into life like I'm a prey species where I'm braced for the danger at every moment. I can't operate like that. I have to operate more in a full bloom, almost in a predator type of situation
apex
where
predator.
I am walking through where I have, I'm on my. I feel like I walk around with a cloud of air under my feet most of the time. I feel light. I feel in charge in a way. I feel like I'm in a positive displacement all the time rather than negatively, and you can feel that in people. Once you start getting I think some of this fourth dimension, sixth sense stuff is where, you feel that shift in people wherever they're at. And I just don't allow myself to operate like that anymore. I just won't. It's a little bit of that Grogan stuff, It's that I refuse to be, I am no longer on the bottom of the victim pile, and I've refused to even begin to be pushed back under there.
Yeah. And, you want that. He's got that saying, it's he's like, stop taking the path of least resistance. Growth comes from hard shit.
Yeah. You build muscles by lifting heavy things.
Yeah. And, he's a firm believer on that. The only limitations that we have are the ones we put on ourselves.
Yep.
If I start agreeing that I'm a piece of shit because of someone else's opinion, then I'm going to start living like a piece of shit.
Exactly.
That's a limitation that they may have said to me, but I had to agree with. And I came from a good upraising. My mom and my dad were awesome, very intelligent people, very loving people. And I didn't come from that manic household you hear a lot of times in AA. This very fight or flight, survival based home life. I didn't have that.
Same thing here. I didn't have that at all.
I had this just nurturing, loving family system, and I was the one who disagreed. I had these challenges. I had these problems. I didn't feel right. The world owed me something. And it's 20 years plus. Shit. I was 12, so you do the math. I was 12 and I'm going to be 40, so when I started drinking. But I never accepted that I was part of the group, that I was good enough, or that, and it's that windshield wiper on that dry window.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel right in my own skin. Get a couple whiskeys in me, yeah, man. Polo and a pair of khakis, I'll fit into any group in the world.
Yeah.
But I just never felt
part of.
Yeah, part of. And, it's
a common theme amongst us all. It seems like, there are some common things, and that's one of them. That's trying to fit in, and put that whatever mood changer, dopamine releaser is in me, and I could be me, or I could be what I wanted to be, and I look at them today, and I kind of, there's a little bit of a parallel I come upon today was like, I'm a little bit like I'm drunk all the time, because now I can be this dude that I always kind of wanted to be without that in me, though.
Right.
I'm free of that, and I can be the boisterous, joke around, walk around like I own the place, dude, that I could only be at a certain level of drunk, right? Because if I overshot the mark, then I was the sloppy. But that hit me this morning. I really have ramped up my meditation again.
Yeah.
And that's actually helping me get some more clarity in my day-to-days and those things. These visions and stuff will come to me while I'm doing that.
Make no mistake, whether you have addiction or you don't, the human brain is addicted to dopamine. Period. Doesn't matter who you are. Every single person has
feeling good feels good.
Feeling good feels good, and we use a different thing to trigger how to get that dopamine. But you hear a lot of these people, like, the old cliche, high on life.
Yeah.
The reason that exists is we found a new way to trigger dopamine, and it's fixing that shit that was broken inside of us. The thing that was inside of us is saying, okay, I'm getting, 2 drops of dopamine. It's not enough to run the system. I'm not happy enough, so I'm going to pour this liquor on it, or I'm going to throw these pills down my throat, or do whatever the hell else it is, because I need to amp up that dopamine response inside my brain. Well, it just kind of stretches out the cup that needs to be filled every time. And then, it doesn't matter how much shit you're pouring on it, you're never going to be fulfilled. But this work, because I say work because it ain't easy. It's simple, but it ain't easy.
Yeah.
It's almost the difference between putting water in a cup with a hole in it, so it's just going to run out. Okay? This is almost like putting cement in that cup. You're holding on to the things that truly do fill up that empty hole inside of you. That's what I'm doing anyway. That's how I feel about it. Every day that I wake up happy, like genuinely happy. Someone asked me that when I was about 3 months into this whole journey. Said, "How are you, man?" And I was like, and usually I'd answer with the same, bullshit answer. "Oh, I'm fine," But I actually thought about it for a second and answered honestly, and I was like, man, I don't think I've ever been this good before in my entire life. If I have been, I don't remember it.
Yeah, I suppose there's, we would be taught that there was a point when we were kids where we actually were this free.
But I mean, I think I said on Tuesday night, man, the topic at hand was, to be returned to sanity.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I don't remember.
Sure, I'm returning.
I don't remember when I was sane.
I don't either.
I don't. I mean, I
have to believe there was a time, and maybe like when I was your boy's age.
Yeah.
And you can't really process that or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I remember having that struggle for as long as I can.
If I've got
I don't
a memory,
recall not having that, not fitting in feeling.
Mm-hmm. If I have a memory from young, most of it was me on my heels, as opposed to me on my feet or on the tips of my toes. And my friends actually, when I was growing up, they mentioned something about it. I was like 17, man. I haven't fucking told this story. I don't. We were doing something. It wasn't anything extravagant or interesting overall. They were like, hey, we're gonna go do this, and I was like, okay. Like, dude, doesn't matter what the fuck we say to you, good, bad. It's always the same response. Okay, like, fuck it. Like, dude, I mean, I get genuinely excited to do things these days. Like, excited to come here. Excited to go to my Tuesday night meeting.
Yeah, I have a general optimistic outlook today on my day-to-day things and whatever's going on.
Yeah. Which I never had.
Me neither, man.
I never fucking
never
had that.
Me. Nope.
The minute I punched into life, which is usually hitting my alarm clock, it was like, fuck.
I was bracing, like for the next bad thing to happen.
Yeah.
I was peeking around the corner before I turned the corner. You know, I was creeping around in life.
Well, and
shadowing and bracing and
It's
Sure,
fucking.
I wasn't gonna get hurt.
It's fucking exhausting, man. That's no 20, 30 years of bracing for the next wave. You know, just getting beat the fuck up, and you're doing most of the beating.
Not making the waves.
Yeah, you know, I got to the point where I was drinking so much that I had a running notebook of shit that had gone on during the day, so that I could keep track of it. And then I would get to the point where I'd get so fucking hammered, I couldn't even read the notes that I was leaving for myself.
Yeah.
And so to combat that, I started leaving voice notes, right? And it was so slurred and just fucking all over the place. Because I had this pattern, man, at the end of my drinking. My wife would leave in the morning around 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. The drive-through liquor store around the corner from our house opened at 8 o'clock. I gave her about enough time to leave for work and be on the road, and then I'd go to the liquor store. This is after I've already had a half pint or a pint to start my morning, and try to hold it together long enough for that hour window while she's getting ready for work, you know. And then she'd leave. I'd go get another pint, get fucking blasted throughout the day, and then pass out at 2:30 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and sleep until she came home from work to sleep it off. And then I'd be like, oh, babe, hey, I got us a couple bottles of wine for tonight for dinner. And so that way I could play off the stank, and maybe the slurred words by 6:30 at night, And fuck, if it was a weekend, man, I was drinking from the time I got up, but I didn't technically start drinking until noon, let's say. And I drink bourbon when I was being visually drinking, but it was vodka when I wasn't being visually drinking. It's easier to hide, man. Yeah. And dude, she fucking knew, man, and she was just over the fight, man. She's over the fight. I would have been too. I'm not getting anywhere with this shit. And she told me this week, man. I didn't know this, but she told me this week that she had called my mom and been like, I don't know what the fuck to do. I need help. Shit's fucked up. And because my representative is so good, Mom didn't think that there was, that wasn't a possibility, Meanwhile, I'd missed her retirement party because I was so fucking in that, not hungover, in that detox state where I knew I'd had to sober up enough to drive us to go to my mom's retirement party. Well, the sobering up aspect meant that I was going through detox. So I had to keep managing that with, okay, a shot here. Let's see how that balances me out. That's
a lot of work.
Yeah, dude. And so, she saw all of it. Most of the rest of the family just...
Your wife?
Yeah, my wife saw all of it. The rest of my family, they may have saw a bad situation here or there, but all manageable, And that was my representative. Meanwhile, the whole time, in the back of my head is me, the real me screaming, somebody fucking do something. Somebody fucking call me on my bullshit. How am I still getting away with this? I need somebody to fucking see what's going wrong.
Yeah, somebody jerk a knot in my tail.
Yeah.
But can't really actually ask for that.
Yeah.
I remember praying one time when I was doing a similar situation. It brought that, and I don't know that these are real prayers, but I do remember praying for this. Now I can say that. I can actually say that in this situation, to stop me. I want to hit a wall. I need something to stop me. I'm not able to stop doing this. And a few nights later, I got a DUI. It was the first one in 19 years. I didn't have one from the time I was 19 years old. And I was 38 years old. Matter of fact, that night when I was sitting in jail or whatever, it was actually after midnight. I had turned 38 that day. It was, the girl took my driver's license and said, "Happy birthday." And I didn't even really realize that was my birthday. I remember being shocked.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
But that's what's like the alcoholic part of this, and the other end of that is that, you know, when that happened to me, I shook it off. Well, that wasn't it. Right? You know, so I asked for something to stop me. I have actually an event that had the potential to, you know, that Bob Earl talks about, hit a wall and turn left, or, you know, and the thing is I never did stop until I had something happen to me. I had to be physically stopped at some level, be it a DUI or enough trouble, enough consequences that would force me to stop. I just don't go, okay, today's the day. So that happened, but then, you know, it didn't take long, and I thought, actually, you know, I started like I was going to turn myself around, but then you start, you know, the body, when the body starts recovering, when I started, then the disease returned, and, you know, and I blew off that event and said, yeah, that probably wasn't really the sign I was thinking it was a few weeks ago, you know.
Oh, that was just
yeah, that was one of those coincidences.
Dude, I know that what I was praying for at the end was just lights out.
We're looking for the end.
Yeah.
The real end.
Real end. I had gotten to the point where I didn't know how to fix it. I don't know, like I said Tuesday night, I don't know how to fix any of this shit.
That made me laugh too.
But I knew I was at the point where, like, that's what I was praying for, man. Dude, just take me in my sleep, man. Don't make it fucking hurt. Don't let me realize enough about it that it scares me.
Yeah.
But everybody will be better off if I'm gone.
Yeah. Then they won't have to worry about me no more.
Then they don't have to worry about me. I don't have to fuck up, you know, Ashley's life. I don't have to drag her down in the mud with me.
Yeah. We don't realize how much that really would have done that.
Yeah. At the time, yeah. And, dude, I mean, I never told her this, but that, I mean, I don't really know. Like, I know what, it was scared, but I don't know if it was saving my job. I don't know if it was really survival instinct had kicked in, because I don't think that's what it was. Because I'd really gotten to the point where I was like, I'm going to shit on everything, man. I'm going to fucking just go to the numbers. And when I've pushed everyone away and fucked everything up in my life, I'm just going to go out in the backyard. End it. But I've heard that before, like, people who are really, really in that spot, they lash out, they hurt, they make the people that love them hate them, so that they have that anger and that, you know, that fury behind it. And I mean, I was scared that I was going to lose my job. I was actually probably, the thing that is the honest to God truth, is I was probably scared that I would actually fucking accomplish everything that I was putting in place. That I would fucking pull this off. Like, I would fucking piss off Ashley, piss off my family, shit on the mortgage, you know, get fired from my job, have no other fucking option. Because, you know, I would never live in my car. I would never live on the street. I would never do this, never do that. But, man, I was a pussy, man. I was drinking the fucking slow way, man.
Yeah, same thing here, man.
So
I said I would never go to jail when that thing come down, and that was going to be my solution had it got to that.
Yeah.
I was not going.
Yeah. Tales of woe, man. And it's just like, you know, 19 months of sobriety, right? On top of all those years of non-sobriety. You know, I'm still hard on myself. You know? Like, you know, there's certain things where it's like, you know, why can't, this is a ridiculous line of thought. Why am I thinking like this? Why am I doing this? Why? I'm like, I never, now I still have to take a step back, and, you know, and usually in meditation, or I have a meditation that I do when things are getting tense in my brain, to kind of slow down. And you know, I have to realize, like, dude, I'm fucking learning how to live. You know, I spent a lot of time learning how to survive, but not live.
Yeah.
And thrive. You know, daring to live instead of daring to survive or settling to survive. So, I don't know, man. Is that it?
Is that it?
I don't know. It's not it for me for sobriety, but
I know that's not the case.
I mean,
you know, we have this thing going on in with these guys in this group, and you know, man, I feel a little beholden to them. Like to continue.
mm-hmm.
You know, there's accountability that's in this measure for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying before this, you know, I've been blessed with a number of sponsees.
Mm-hmm.
I really can't let them down. And I
Yeah.
know that starts getting to be into weird territory at times.
Putting
But
things
that's a
in front
piece
of
of
your
it.
sobriety.
That's a piece of it
Yeah.
that, you know, you know, I've been talking this talk, man, and I need to walk the walk too. I have a certain amount of accountability through our group and stuff that I want to continue to push and continue to like be on this wave with everybody. I don't want to like kind of like I think about like friends I had that failed grades, and we were all had these clique kind of things,
Mm-hmm.
and then the guy failed a grade and he fell back,
Mm-hmm.
and he's not in our grade no more.
Yeah.
You know, and he never could really get to be. I had some particular ones that were just really, 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 really tight friends, and when they fell back, they never resumed.
Yeah.
Not with
Never
us.
caught back up.
They never caught back up with us, even though they were like, you know, in all reality, they were welcome to. We lived in this neighborhood. It wasn't like he couldn't still walk over here.
Right.
You know, the grade difference really didn't have any difference in it. I know it's a little bit different here too. I don't mean like that time is what this is about, but we're all like in this fight together, and there is something about falling off and trying to climb back up. I don't know if I've had one. Well, I had that series of stumbles with a little bit of recovery, and then stumbled. And man, it was hard to get back up on my feet after falling. And I just have way too much good stuff going on in my life to sacrifice that.
Right.
I mean, I'd be like, I just can't even fathom giving up what I have in my life today for that shit.
Right. Well, I know that I had a couple attempts at sobriety. Well-meaning attempts. But never went to a meeting. Never did the steps. Never opened the book. Hell, I didn't get the book until I went into the brook.
Didn't get a book? Or didn't get...
Didn't get the big book until I went into the brook.
By getting it, you mean physically getting one?
Yeah, like picking one up. Putting the money on the table and getting a book.
Okay, yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I know,
You could
get the book.
Yeah.
Air quotes,
No,
get the book, or
no,
actually have a physical book in my paws.
Not even giving myself the opportunity to get the book.
Yeah.
I hadn't even purchased the book. Couldn't tell me to go to a meeting. Fuck that. It's hokum.
Yeah.
It's, witchcraft, cult, whatever you want to say. I actually heard a guy going into the spiritual underground and fresh, new, was talking to you. And I think he said something like, well, you got to admit it's a cult mentality. I'm like, dude, you're talking yourself out of coming to the meeting. Don't have to church it up. Like, if you don't want to come to the meeting, don't come to the fucking meeting.
Hit the road, Jack.
Yeah, you don't need to sell me your story. If you're working on your story so that you can go tell your friends or your family or whoever it is you're going to disappoint that this is the why you're not doing it, don't use me.
I've been to AA. It don't work.
Yeah. Don't use me as your sounding board to work on your story. Like, I don't thank you. You want to work on yourself? Come on, let's dance.
Right.
But you gave me one of the best things. Like, dude, I got a buddy of mine. I won't say his name, but he's unhealthy with addiction. And man, I did the I got into the boat. And it was about the same time that he was wrestling with this problem. And dude, I fucking tried, man. I tried because he had a lot of problems with the higher power stuff, the cult side of it. I'm like, dude, you know me since I was a kid. You were a kid. Like, dude, nobody gave me Kool-Aid. Like,
I ain't joining no cult, buddy.
I'm like, like the science side of me, like my brain, like the cynical asshole that I tend to be about things. Like, do you think if, like, I mean, there have to be some very convincing fucking liars with no motivation to get me on board. It's not like I have millions for them to sap out of me or something like that. I mean, I'm like, literally, there is no motivation other than you getting healthy that these people want. And, dude, just nothing, man. Fucking BB gun into a tank, man.
Yep.
And, I even used your analogy. It was like, if you walked out in a minefield.
Yeah. Yeah, I got that from somebody else, but
yeah, well, I credit you with it because you're the one I heard it from. But
I have that handy too.
Yeah, dude, that's such a beautiful metaphor for the brain trying to reset itself.
Yeah. Imagine you're standing in the front of a minefield. On the other side of that minefield stands a soldier. Not only has he walked that minefield safely, but he has guided thousands of others through that minefield safely as well. He hails you from the other side and offers to guide you across safely. Do you, A, tell him he is well-meaning but really doesn't know shit about minefields? Or B, shut up and listen to what he has to say, treading the path of thousands of others before you. One way guarantees you safe passage. Why tread a new path?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was trying to do with my quote-unquote attempts at sobriety before giving it a real chance. Was I was trying to walk that minefield on my own. And God, how could I have possibly gotten blown up? How could this have fallen apart in my face? And, that's what I was trying to explain to my friend and his, everybody's got their own path. I'm not here to,
Yep, it does, but,
But it's your friend. You want, he's suffering. He's not getting it. He wants to get it, but, it's not getting there. I'm like, dude, it's just like trying to talk yourself out of being diabetic, man.
You can't do it.
You can have a good game, but at the end.
And there's that thing, man, and I do a fair job of selling this program at some level.
Mm-hmm.
By my actions and what you see in me, and I can talk it. I have a little gift there, I believe, and I can do that. But there's a time, and I want to. I do it not for me. I do it because I want to see other people get what I have gotten out of this, And if you're hurting and you want to get better, this worked for me, and I'm willing and able to share it with you. But man, I can fall cold real fast, man, because when you start putting, there's a thing like the block and parry, right?
Yeah.
When I start getting that game going on, and everything my tools become blocked, and then they're all that, and I know it's time to walk away, because actually, it gets to that more. Continuing stops me from helping somebody else, where I'm wasting my time here, and I'm also potentially blocking a time opportunity to be helpful to this particular person at a later date too.
Mm-hmm.
If I throw too much on them,
burning that bridge.
Yeah, but man, there's some people in my life, that I desperately wish could get this, and I know that I can't. It's not going to be me.
Yeah.
It might be, I can do is be a recovered soul and a example over there. But anything I do or say from any kind of real action standpoint is going to fall on deaf ears because those people cannot hear me.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what this situation is. I got another friend, heavy partier that I grew up with, and he went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, dude, you keep drinking, you're going to be dead in 6 months. And he quit drinking. He's has his own maintenance program. But, so my first friend that I was talking about, he looks at that like, oh, this is how I can progress into a what he calls sober life. I'm like, dude, that's fine. I mean, if you stay sober, it keeps you out of the hospital. It's your path, man. I'm not here to tell you what's right, what's wrong. I'll tell you, it's not going to work for me. I can't think that I can do X, Y, and Z and not go back to where I was. But also, I don't want that misery, man. Like, he's like, well, the question, what do you do? What do you do? What do you fucking read, man? I'm bettering myself. Like, talking about going back to school. I had a kid. Like,
yeah, I can start going, I'm living.
Yeah.
But we can also do, if you want to sit down, I can give you my resume of what I do today.
Yeah.
If you want to know what I do in exchange for
audit
that
your
stuff.
day. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm certain it's another miracle in my recovery and how I'm able to do. There just ain't a whole lot of people that's doing as much as I'm doing at the moment. And I don't know how I'm getting it all done.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's going to be sustainable, to be honest with you. My sponsor keeps a thumb on my pulse there. But, yeah, what I do today, I'm certainly not.
A parachute.
I'm certainly not. I'm certainly not having any trouble filling my life up with really fantastic stuff in exchange for that old life. No doubt.
Yeah, well.
And I know, and I watch guys like you, and we have a number of new fathers in our perimeter.
Yeah.
And some of them not so new, but have still younger children. Mine are beginning to grow up a little bit, but and I'm watching, these guys getting to be dads, getting to actually be dads, and that's kind of world changing stuff when we get to actually start imparting these tools on future generations. There's a guy that Erikk, and I should say his name's Erikk Weinstein. He's some of these new thinkers that are presenting some of this stuff, like Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris, and like he says something. He says the sense-making apparatuses that used to work, like religion and stuff, are not working any longer.
Yeah.
They're losing their effectiveness. And we don't really say that they're faulty necessarily or anything like that. It's not a knock on them. Fact of the matter is, they're not working for people anymore. There's a lot, we wouldn't have going on in the world what we got going on. So they're all talking about what are we going to do? What is the new sense-making apparatus that we can employ to get, ultimately, get civilization back on track? And we found one. Right? That's what, I have one in my life, and we have this. And the thing about it is, we don't have to cult up and have this, just like we were saying earlier. We don't necessarily have to have the exact same one. We don't all have to be kneeling to the same thing. And that's what is the beauty of this, really, is that we don't. We can do this individually and together in some real odd dynamic that almost shouldn't work. If you look at history, this doesn't work. You have to be all in alignment in your belief systems.
Yeah.
To get along. That's been the history of our world. And when we don't align in belief systems is when we have wars and when we have segregation, kill each other and that kind of stuff. But that's not what's happening here. And I do, in a sense, in a way, when that guy is saying that, and I'm listening to him talk about it on a podcast or on YouTube or something like that, I'm going, is this way of life that we've got that new sense-making apparatus the world is waiting on?
Well, it's definitely, it works for me. It's a way that, dude, like even Tuesday night, so vastly, spectrally different from one person to the next. How they got to the room, their background, what they've been through, their bottom. And people sitting there for an hour. I say an hour. That's
really about 40 minutes.
40 minutes. But then, there's the pre-fellowship and the after-fellowship, which that meeting turns into 2 hours. No problem.
Right. Yep.
But people that would never mix, in your opinion, or in anyone's opinion, out in the real world, come from vastly different backgrounds, vastly different belief systems. And go into that room I know there's other AA meetings out there like that.
There's got to be.
There's got to be.
I'm not aware of them, but
I've never been to another one. But that Tuesday night group, man, you see people change and fast.
Yeah,
that's
Yeah, you see guys that 60 and 90 days of recovery
that are
blasting off.
boom.
Man. And and dudes are crossing over their year like completely like recovered.
Yeah.
Past tense, and I will use that freaking word. We all say this. I am still recovering.
Mm-hmm.
I will. That's that part of the continue thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll certainly say that I have recovered from that seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. Yeah, man, people are getting well fast and they're getting a lot of recovery really quick. And guys are talking, and this is something that's been, they're speaking like they got, in any other meeting, it's a 10-year sobriety.
Years
or
of
whatever,
sobriety.
yeah. They've been around, and they're not. There was a guy in there the other day, in the last couple of weeks ago, sitting next to me, and he had shown, he actually showed another friend of ours the text where he got in the meeting, and he sat down, and he texted another one of his buddies that he's at this meeting he's never been to before.
Yeah.
And these dudes are hugging and high-fiving, and I'm not exactly sure what I've walked into.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was juiced up at the end of the meeting, and he wasn't back this past week, but...
I'll tell you what juiced me the fuck up is... This week, on Tuesday night, this is actually probably one of the bigger God shots I've had in a juice moment. I mean, I share a lot. That's one of the things I was told coming in early. Share often, get it off your chest.
Learn to talk.
Yeah, don't get hung up on is it meaningful? What do you say what you got. Don't just be a thief in the meeting.
Yeah.
But, I shared on Tuesday night, and, it was from the heart. It was, what I wanted to share. But I saw Billy, who was in Tuesday night. He'd only been in the week before, and he was 10 days back, And he was saying, he'd had a healthy chunk of sobriety and gone back out for 2 years. And... I definitely put an exclamation point when I do my introduction. I say, I'm fucking Erikk. But, dude, he remembered. He's like, man, Erikk, I love hearing you talk. And I was like, oh, shit. Yeah. Praise from Caesar right there. Because, dude, him coming in that first night he came in and talking about, dude, I don't know if I can fucking do this again. And he'd had 20 plus years of sobriety and gone back out. And him, coming in, I was like, fuck, man. And what he had to share was just huge. And, dude, we have people come in with burning desire. I mean, share and bring the heat.
Yep. Absolutely,
in that meeting, man. And it's the culture that we kind of live by. I think in our support group, in that meeting is, I don't care how broken you are. I don't care what you're facing. You come lay it out here, nobody's going to judge you for your shit.
Yep.
This is a place, it's a safe fucking place. Talk. Tell your shit. Get it off you, man. This is where you start your recovery.
Yeah.
You can go to other meetings, but this is where you start your recovering.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder when we're going to outgrow ourselves.
Yeah.
Means getting bigger and bigger, and that's kind of, there's a dynamic, when somebody's hungry in there, you see them really latch on and grow, right?
Mm-hmm.
The flip side of that is if you do not, man, you do not come back to this meeting, man. People bolt. I like, what I really like is when you see somebody like coming out of their skin in the meeting.
Yeah.
And they will go do look out the hallway like they're looking for the restroom.
Yeah.
And poof.
Yeah.
Midway through the meeting.
We had somebody walk out last night, or on Tuesday. Yeah. Got up made about halfway through the meeting. And was like,
yeah, I'm out of here. And that's a disease taking you, saying, that's like, that dude ain't ready because we bring it. We do.
Yeah.
There's guys in there, and we're talking recovery at some other level. Well, man, I am enjoying talking big time. We are an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah. I thought it was getting long. That's why I was like,
And I don't mind it, but I do at the moment. And I would actually like to stretch these podcasts at times, especially when we're doing this just conversational kind of thing, because I think that's super cool. But I also don't want to wear out our welcome too bad on these early podcasts.
Yeah.
It's super cool to have you in here, though, man, and I love to talk to you.
I appreciate
love
the
your
opportunity.
vision and your And the way you articulate yourself, the way that you can to express your ideas, I always gel on that. I'm always like on point with what you're sharing and stuff. And I love the way you carry your recovery and the way you express it. We don't.
It's a long time coming, man.
The same thing, that coincidence stuff, man. I believe that we have been brought together in a gathering here on purpose, and it goes into that sense-making apparatus thing. I really do believe, and I do believe that we've been brought together for some kind of gathering of a purpose that is for some higher good, and we all have these. Like you said a minute ago, you said something about maybe about how some intelligence levels and some ways some people share and some things, and I really wasn't. I don't want to paraphrase it exactly, but about how we start to talking and people have got some real gifts to lay out and express this stuff, and it's poignant.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason. Where there's some spiritual warriors, so to speak, and I don't want to be too arrogant about it, but that are being brought together to take this into further reaches. And I think it's all behind part of it being behind my sponsor's wave of that moving along. And I think just continue to be excited because I watch these guys getting this life behind them that becoming this recovered state that's beyond what you see just on a day-to-day basis.
Dude, just I won't keep going. I won't keep circling the campfire, so to speak. But there. Coincidence, whatever the fuck, like all of the tumblers having to fall, the way that they did, and me ending up where I did at the time period with these people, and
everybody I sit down with will tell the same thing, of some similar story, and
and
all those tumblers, so then you say that happened for you, like within your own thing, but think about that Dan is a tumbler, and Erikk and Shane and Chris, and all of us are actually tumblers in a time lock, all falling into place together and in line like that, and that's it becomes pretty cool stuff, man. And I'll leave that right where it is because I will leave that right where it is.
To be. It's definitely worth further examination.
Yeah, and we will continue to do that too, man.
So, I'm fucking psyched that I was even, that there was something about my story even, that could be of a help or an interest out in the world, and, that is one thing that I found is, you hear, it's a different story, but it's the same story a lot of times. And, if there's if it's one fucking word, one sentence that I said that helps somebody out, man, great.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better.
I like how one friend of ours said when we first started these, he helped us kind of launch this thing. He said, he actually said it from his sponsor. And I don't know if it's going to help anybody, but it sure looks like it's helping y'all. And it is fun and I really do think I think same thing, man. These coincidences, this stuff is not happening for no reason. There's a purpose behind this, and we just all get to be like soldiers in the army.
A willing contributor.
Yeah, a willing contributor. So cool, man. Thank you for coming. I'll close this up a little bit. I do want to make sure that everybody knows we have the spiritualunderground.org up. And the podcast and a little bit of show notes are being posted in there. Also, you can see a picture of the people who are speaking in here to kind of put that face with the name thing. Some people choose not to have their picture on there, and that is fine too. We'll protect anonymity at the level that people personally want to protect that. So we'll make sure that we are doing that. Don't think that this is any breaks. We're not breaking people's anonymity by doing that. We are allowed to break our own. So I think that's a wrap. We thank you for listening again tonight, and we'll keep on putting out content pretty much on a weekly basis the best we can. Stay tuned in, visit the website, send feedback to the email address on the website if you have any. If you're interested in sitting in on one of these sessions and having your story recorded and put on Spiritual Underground podcast,
check out that email on the contact page on spiritualunderground.org. Thank you, Erikk, man. Love you to death. Love your recovery. Thank you for coming tonight, man.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate the opportunity for sure.
Yeah, man. Love you.
Love you too.
Out.